That brings us to what the NNPC says. Well, they want to bring back the refineries builders, the original builders, to. I guess that was last week, for them to come back in and repair them. Then the Dangote is working furiously to get his 50,000 barrels per day up and running. From all indications, that will still take another 24 months or a little bit.
That's what I said, the long term. As long as it's no problem if it takes 24 months, if it takes 36 months, as long as we know that in the future we don't need to import petrol anymore.
Yeah, well, so it doesn't take any brainer that with the current fuel scarcity, January inflation figure, what's your reading?
Well, so we expect that. So last month it was actually a surprise to us, but we expect that there's been a delayed translation of the petrol scarcity. We find that transports, the people who are in charge of the drivers, even public transport, haven't really translated the prices yet. Although if you find like Uber, for example, and Taxify, the prices have been fluctuating. There's always surges. So, but I don't think the NBS really looks at those as in their transport index. But we expect that there's going to be a delay, and we expect that in this January figures we might see. In last figures, the transport index was flat, but we expect that it's going to increase in. And
that's what gives us the core inflation, a little bit of a decline there for December.
Well, so it was there were increase. It actually increased. So it was other things like I think there was the equipment, machineries, and the equipment, and then there was a little bit of fuels as well. The refined fuels. There was an increase in that. So it was really just the transport index was flat, and there was no indication of an increase despite the fuel scarcity.
So we might see a moderation. Perhaps this fuel scarcity is not going to be as biting on inflation when the January numbers come out as we expect.
We'll see.
Depending on how things pace out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the marketplace and see what the numbers are looking like. This your market survey is always very interesting. Each time you bring them out here, and is anything changing? It looks like all the numbers are flat.
Everything has stayed flat. So we find that there's still a lot of discounting. So the discount that producers introduced in November to December period, they've sort of maintained it, or even in January. So that's one of the reasons why flour, for example, has stayed flat.
Yeah, that is good. I like it. I like it when prices stay flat, at least.
Yeah, at least they're not moving up.
Yeah, they're not moving rapidly in direction that I don't like. But again, the conversation on the streets, we can discuss these things without discussing the bigger picture, which is the global oil market. So it's good that prices of crude is at a runaway level. I'll say that guidedly, yes, if you're looking at where we are. But are you encouraged by the meeting over the weekend in Oman about the big boys, Russia, Saudi Arabia, saying, look, we're looking at production, cut back, maintained until 2019. It looks like a lot of folks in Abuja will lose music to their ears.
Yes. So it will definitely be good for prices. And even initially, when the Saudi Arabian minister made that announcement, we saw oil prices increase, even just based on the announcement alone. So once we move further, if everybody else agrees, because that's just Saudi Arabia's comment, if everybody else in the cartel and everybody who is currently signed on to the declaration...
But perhaps with the exception of Iran, if Saudi Arabia speaks, everybody listen. You just have to listen.
Yeah, they're the de facto leaders. So
of course. The kingdom leads OPEC, Russia leads the non-OPEC. Those are the two big elephants in the room. Except Iran is still not too comfortable with the price rally.
Well, so it's not that they're not comfortable. I just think it's a lot of the geopolitical tensions that is underlining, that is affecting the relationship. But definitely, it's benefiting them to the higher prices.
But again, how does this space out for Nigeria with the militants threatening that they'll be back in business in a few days' time? That was an unsettling statement from you over the weekend.
Yes. So we found that with the recession, we found that Nigeria is actually more production sensitive than price sensitive. So initially, when the oil price crashed, we saw a slowdown. But then when the domestic production crashed, then we went into recession. So it's not something that we would want at all. So just fingers crossed and hope that it's able to, negotiations or whatever that needs to be done is done, and that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. So you think more the production cutback will hurt us more than decline in crude prices?
Yes, it would.
That's amazing. Let us have a final one. Where do you see oil prices? We're almost done with year to date. Brent is around, well, technically close to 4% in the green. Do you think we can maintain this?
Yes, well right now, oil prices are receiving a lot of support. And first of all, the imports, Chinese imports, they're saying that they're going to increase imports of oil in 2018. So that's positive for prices, as well as the U.S. There's been a decrease in the drilling and the rig counts over the last week. And so, provided that this momentum is maintained, we expect that oil prices would stay at current levels, or maybe even inch up a little bit.
How about the shale producers are back? They didn't go anywhere.
Well, they as much as in the last time, in the first rally of early 2017, we saw them increase prices to take advantage of it. But right now, despite the rally, they've sort of left their production flat. So it's a surprise to the market, but it's a positive one, and we're just hoping that it stays that way.
Do you think the IEA reports of over the weekend gives the market will give the market any fillip whatsoever? Is it comforting anyway?
Well, so we'll see when we see what is going to be reported. But then if we see that there's been expected, because it's really the expectations, is if they expect for there to be an increase in the U.S. production, obviously that's going to affect the prices, because the U.S. does what it wants, and it's not part of any form of agreement. So if there's an increase in production in the U.S., we could see prices go down a little bit.
But do you think we should bring the U.S. into the conversation?
Well, I think so.
Difficult? Impossible?
It's difficult. Nothing is impossible.
Nothing's impossible, yes. but very difficult. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate that, putting some of this in perspective for us.